Palestinian negotiating team resigns. The Palestinian negotiating team has resigned and will not participate in peace talks with the Israelis. A spokesman for the Palestinian mission to the United Nations told CNN Wednesday. The team resigned due to the Israeli illegal practice, especially settlement activities. Rabbi Hentoli said in an email, "There are efforts to convince them to revert. It is time for the international community and the Quartet members to stop treating Israel as a government above the laws of man and hold them accountable." Palestinian chief negotiator Saeb Erekat told Al Jazeera America he was referring to the United Nations, Russia, United States, and European Union's peace effort. Settlement building in East Jerusalem and on the West Bank is the issue that will make or break the negotiations, he said. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has a choice: settlements or peace. He can't have both. Read: Israeli-Palestinian relations hit new snakes as Kerry visits Jerusalem. Ending the talks would be a blow to efforts by the Obama administration to get long-stalled discussions back on track. But a senior administration official downplayed the news, saying that Erekat had issued that threat in the past, and that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, the man in charge, has said that he is committed to the U.S. brokered Mid-East peace negotiations with Israel. We've seen Saeb Erekat do this before, where he threatened to resign because he's not happy with the way talks are going, but he ends up taking it back and continuing with the negotiations. The official told CNN, "If this ends up being a real resignation this time, which again we don't know, but if it is, we expect the negotiations will continue." The official added, "We have to see how it plays out, but no one is really concerned about it at this point." Read: Obama focuses foreign policy on Iran and Middle East peace talks. The negotiators submitted their resignations to Abbas. Hanan Ashrawi told CNN in an interview in Ramallah on the West Bank. Reason is that they believe that there is too much pressure coming from the Americans, she said. The talks can be resumed and successful if the Americans can rectify the flow of Israeli exceptionalism and impunity by bringing Israel into compliance with international law and cessation of all settlement activity. It will be very difficult to find any Palestinian who will be willing to negotiate with such disparity between occupier and occupied. Read: Intervening in Middle East turmoil. Mission impossible. The next step, Ashrawi said, would be for the PLO Executive Committee to accept the resignation. Talk about expanding settlements has rendered the peace talks irrelevant, if not a total mockery, she said. The announcement came a day after Israel canceled controversial plans to construct more than 20,000 homes in East Jerusalem and on the West Bank. Construction and Housing Minister Uri Ariel made the decision after Netanyahu asked him to consider the long-term building plans. This is a meaningless step, legally and in practice, and an action that creates an unnecessary confrontation with the international community. At a time when we are making an effort to persuade elements in the international community to reach a better deal with Iran, Netanyahu's office said in a statement. At this time, the attention of the international community must not be diverted from the main effort, preventing Iran from receiving an agreement that will allow it to continue its military nuclear program. Lair Amihai of the activist group Peace Now said the Housing Ministry issued 237 S6 planning tenders 2 weeks ago. The tenders are issued to companies to draw plans to be used in possible construction. Laura Friedman, Director of Policy and Government Relations at Americans for Peace Now in Washington, said the plans had included construction in areas deep in the West Bank, east of the barrier that separates Israel from the West Bank. As Rory said earlier that Netanyahu appeared to be intent on scuttling any hope for a solution in peace talks recently, relaunched by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. There are currently more than 300,000 settlers in the West Bank, according to the Israeli Bureau of Statistics, and about 200,000 in East Jerusalem. Police and 16 agents are killed, as previously thought. London. Gareth Williams, the M16 codebreaker, found dead inside an externally locked bag in his apartment in 2010, was probably not killed as previously believed. London's Metropolitan Police said Wednesday, citing a lack of evidence otherwise, taking a different position from a coroner's report last year that said it was likely someone killed Gareth Williams. London's Metropolitan Police said its 3-year investigation suggested that Williams most likely locked himself inside a large bag. Read more. Coroner finds by likely suffocated or poisoned. We believe that it is a more probable conclusion that there was that there was no other person present when Gareth died. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Martin Hewitt said, but the Met said that despite its investigation, there remains insufficient evidence to be definitive on how Williams died. There are holes in what we understand about the circumstances of Gareth Williams' death, Hewitt said. admitting that some of the evidence is odd. This includes the lack of William's DNA on the padlock used to lock the large red bag his body was found in, and the lack of handprints on the edge of the bag where it was found. He said, "What we were left with is either individual pieces of evidence or a lack of such evidence that can logically support one of a number of hypotheses." He said, "The case has gripped the British public since Williams, known for his mathematical genius and code-breaking talent, was found dead at age 31 in August 2010. Among the theories aired by UK media were that Williams might have died at the hands of foreign intelligence agents or as a result of a kinky sexual encounter gone wrong. Added to that speculation was the discovery of women's clothes, wigs, and cosmetics in Williams' apartment. At the inquest into his death last year, Coroner Fiona Wilcox shut down that speculation, saying she thought Williams bought them out of an interest in fashion, rather than any sexual motivation. Read more. Mysterious spy death grips Britain. Other reports about the body in a bag spy detailed how two experts spent days trying to figure out whether Williams could have contorted himself in such a way as to lock himself into the North Face holder bag with the key to the padlock inside. Video of two experts trying to recreate the scene was shown to the court. One had tried 300 times without success, but neither ruled out definitively the possibility Williams could have somehow done it alone. It is now proven that it is theoretically possible for a person to lock themselves in that exact holder with the same type of lock in the configuration in which Garrett was found. It is important to note that this fact was found to be a possibility by the inquest, Hewitt said. Meanwhile, family members suggested Williams had been murdered by killers versed in the dark art of espionage, referring to speculation that Williams' flat might have been forensically cleaned by unknown people responsible for his death. Hewitt said Wednesday that a deep clean would have removed all traces of Williams' DNA, as well as that of visitors to his flat. He said 10 to 15 traces of DNA had been found that were too insignificant to use to build a full profile, and said advances in forensic science could present opportunities for progress. For the time being, however, there are no active lines of inquiry that it is proportionate to pursue. Williams' family expressed their regret that mystery still surrounds his death, but said they agree with the coroner's verdict on the basis of the fact at present no. We are naturally disappointed that it is still not possible to state with certainty how Garrett died, and the fact that the circumstances of his death are still unknown adds to our grief, they said in a written statement. The family reiterated their disappointment that Williams' employers at M16 had not checked on his welfare when he failed to attend work on August 16, 2010. Williams was finally reported missing by a co-worker on August 23rd, more than a week after the normally punctilious employee had last shown up at work. We believe that if proper steps had been taken in the same manner as any reasonable employer would have undertaken, further information relating to the cause of his death might have become apparent and not have been lost due to the length of time before Garrett's body was found, they said. The family also noted that the Met investigators were at last able to interview directly members of UK intelligence agencies GCHQ and SIS. Addressing media, Hewitt disputed a suggestion that police had been blindsided in their investigation by intelligence agencies, but acknowledged that their method of interaction had improved during the investigation. "We didn't get it right at the beginning," he said. Initially, he said, the only Met officers to deal with the intelligence agencies were those in SO-15, or Counter-Terrorism Command. The SO-15 officers had assessed Williams' vetting and personal files and found nothing relevant to the case. After the inquest, the senior investigating officer in the case personally requested and was granted access to the files and came to the same conclusion. He was said, "The investigation into Garrett's death will remain under review, and any new significant information or evidence will be robustly investigated," he said. "If it is possible for us to give his family more answers, we'll do so." Jordan's debut World Cup dream segmented by Uruguay. It took Jordan 2 years, 2 group stages, and a full 18 games to get to the brink of their first ever World Cup finals. The country had reached fever pitch, salivating at the prospect of their small Arab kingdom securing a place in Brazil alongside the world's best soccer-playing nations. Standing in their way were Uruguay, 1950 World Cup winners and ranked as the 6th best team on the planet, brimming with world-class talent like Liverpool's Luis Suarez and Paris Saint-Germain's Edinson Cavani. Although the team known as Al Nassr, which translates as the Brave Gentlemen, battled gamely in the first leg of their playoff in front of their reigning monarch King Abdullah, the dream is all but over. Read. Egyptian footballer banned for celebration. Uruguay ran out 5-0 winners in Amman, delighting their small pocket of fans who made the journey from South America. meaning the mother of all footballing miracles will be needed if Jordan are to qualify. Still, a portion of their deflated supporters stayed behind after the final whistle to applaud the opposition, whose superior quality told in goals from Maxi Pereira, Christian Stuani, Nicolas Lodero, Christian Rodriguez, and Cavani. Jordan started well, all Safi nearly sneaking a shot inside the near post of Uruguay goalkeeper Martin Silva, but the home side were soon on the back foot. The deadlock was broken on 22 minutes when Pereira, who plays in Portugal for Benfica, tapped home from close range after Cavani's header had been parried by Jordanian goalkeeper Abdullah Ozubi. The second wasn't far behind as Stuani steered a low shot into the net after poor defending allowed a cross to fall to the strikers, who plies his club trade for Espanyol in Spain. After the interval, Jordan fashioned their best chance of the game, but Ibrahim Al-Zawahiri missed the target from close range after Sheriff Edna's inviting cross. Lodero made his 3 on 69 minutes, sweeping home after good work from Cavani, and Rodriguez grabbed a fourth moment later with a crisp volley from inside the area. Jordan's misery was complete in time added on as Cavani got the goal his performance warranted, allowing a free kick from 25 yards into the top corner. The return leg is in Montevideo next Wednesday, and Jordan will travel to South America in the knowledge that their first World Cup appearance is set to elude them again. Mexico joy. Mexico are odds on to join Uruguay in Brazil after they took a commanding 5-1 lead in the playoff with New Zealand. There was a real fear among the country's football-mad fans that Mexico might miss out on the World Cup for the first time since 1990, and they had to rely on other results going their way even to make the playoffs. Coach Miguel Herrera was their fourth in 5 qualification matches, but his decision to overlook star names like Manchester United's Javier Hernandez in favor of those who play in Mexico's domestic league paid off. 2 goals from Ori Peralta and further strikes from Raul Jimenez, Paul Aguilar, and Rafael Marquez put Mexico into a 5-goal lead before Chris James grabbed a consolation goal for the Kiwis. The return leg takes place in New Zealand next Tuesday. Former homeless man's desperate search for wife, child in Philippines. Are you looking for loved ones in the Philippines? Send your story to CNN, I report. CNN. William Telly sat in front of his computer for hours, clicking on every photo he can find online from the wreckage of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, stuck 8,000 miles away in Tennessee. He has no other way of searching for his wife and 3-year-old daughter. What keeps running through my mind now is my baby calling my name. Papa, 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 he says. Telly, his wife Rose, and their child, where Rose live in Guiwan, the tropical paradise where Typhoon Haiyan made its first landfall. The area was devastated. I built a house there last year on an island outside of the city. I imagine everything is gone, he says. His imagination may be right. It is total damage. 100% damage. Guiwan Mayor Christopher Gonzalez has said almost all of the community's 5,000 people were left homeless. Everything is gone, says one resident. Telly is trying everything he can think of to make contact with Rose, dialing all sorts of numbers in Guiwan, calling friends and contacts elsewhere in the Philippines, and using the online tools designed to help people find loved ones. So far, no luck. It hurts. It hurts badly, he says. I'm really worried for them, and if something has happened to my wife, the mother of my child, then who's going to be there to look after my child? I'm going to lose contact with my daughter altogether. Telly's anguish is shared by thousands of others across the globe in the wake of Haiyan, with more than 2,000 people declared dead, more than 3,000 injured, and many more struggling without necessities. Families around the world are in a state of desperation, praying for the best and fearing the worst. Faces of the storm. But Telly, 40, has another worry that few others can associate with. He was homeless at one point in his life and grew up on the street of Los Angeles. That's why I'm so concerned for my child, he says. I don't want my child to have to live like I did. In a CNN I report, Telly, a former firefighter, asked anyone with a relief effort underway to take him along. I want to be there and aid in the relief effort, using the skills I possess to help injured, lost, and homeless, as well as establish communication so that many can be informed of the well-being of their families who are displaced in outlying areas. I need to be there for my family as well and will do all I can to make sure this happens. But even if that were possible, Telly faces another big obstacle, the reason he's in Tennessee. Telly suffers from ankle and knee injuries and is awaiting a knee replacement. He's been in gelatin just outside Nashville for 4 months, working with his doctor and awaiting surgery. The ankle injury stems from 2008, when he was working with the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs. He was part of its Division of Forestry and wetland fire management. On one windy day, he was cutting down a tree in White River, Arizona. It fell onto his foot, shattering his ankle. Telly was unable to continue his job. He has received supplemental security income ever since. He met his wife, now 41, online. He traveled to the Philippines to meet her in person. She grew up poor, on an island where there's a large coconut plantation. Members of her family were fishermen and farmers. When Kelly met Rose, she worked as a cashier. They ended up getting married and combining their first names into one for their daughter, Will Rose. Kelly built their small home, about 30 feet by 30 feet, out of concrete and hollow block. 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room. Last year, he crashed his motorcycle and broke his knee, on the same leg as the ankle injury, his right. Telly last spoke with Rose 11 days ago. I told her how much I missed her and how much I love them and my baby, he says. It's terrible. I can't confuse. Telly adds, I go to the doctor today and I'm going to tell him to give me a steroid shot and joint flu because I know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to make my way to the Philippines.